August the 9th, Osun governorship election is held. The key players are still cooling off from the tension generated in the battle for the soul of the state. But of course, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola emerged the winner in the conduct of that election. Welcome to Roadmap 2015. I'm Gbenga Ashiru. Today, we'll be looking at the challenges encountered and the controversies as part of matters arising from the recently concluded governorship poll in Osun State. But first, the highlights. The Supervising Commissioner for Osun State Election, Ambassador Mohammed Wali, scored INEC 100% on transparency in the conduct of the poll.
I think I will score INEC 100% in the sense that from the word go, you meet with political parties. You discuss with them all the steps you want to take in the conduct of election.
The People's Democratic Party alleges massive rigging in the just concluded elections.
The PDP Osun State chapter has alleged a lot of massive and some careless rigging.
The All Progressives Congress insists the Osun election was won fair and square based on performance and excellent grassroots appeal of the candidates.
The election was won fair and square on performance and on good connections with the people.
Now, a week after the just concluded governorship election in Osun State, the APC and the PDP are still engaged in mudslinging and counter-accusations. Also, let's look at the Oyinlola factor. Yes, Chief Olagunso Oyinlola, an erstwhile PDP scribe who defected to the APC, was thought to be a potential game changer. But the juries are out on that one because he failed to deliver his Okuku word. Another controversy emerged as the Department of State Service alleged that it was offered 14 million naira by a political party. But this was quickly debunked by the APC spokesperson Lai Mohammed, who asked the DSS to present the facts and figures and prosecute the culprits. Now the Osun State chapter of the PDP is heading to the tribunal over allegations of election irregularities. All this shows that there may be more than meets the eye in Nigeria's electoral system. But first, we'll be having the background report on the Osun State elections.
The Osun governorship election begins on a smooth note, with voters trooping out en masse as early as 8 a.m. to be accredited. The process is on, and the enthusiasm of the voters is apparent as they go through the list for their names. The situation is the same in most of the wards, including the Ife-Ijesha senatorial district, where the state governor, Rauf Aregbesola, was accredited alongside other eligible voters. Similarly, the PDP flag bearer, Senator Yola Omishore, gets accredited at St. Gabriel Primary School, where he is expected to cast his vote. Voting commences and the voters, including the APC candidate and his PDP counterpart, take turn to exercise their civic responsibility at their respective polling stations. Sorting and counting at polling station is on, and the voters are not leaving anything to chances. They hang around with party agents, keeping watch over the ballot boxes.
3, 4.
Osun people have decided by casting their votes
that following from this, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law and scored the highest votes, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Now, after the presentation of the certificate of return to the governor-elect of the just concluded Osun State election, Governor Rauf Aregbesola, tension has been building up between the two rival camps, namely the APC and the PDP. The Independent Electoral Commission has also been fingered by the PDP over allegations of electoral malpractice. This is an election which recorded a turnout of 75% of the 764,000 accredited voters. Well, Channels TV had a one-on-one interview with the INEC Supervising Commissioner for Osun election, Ambassador Mohammed Wali, asking him questions on the conduct of the last Osun governorship poll.
Our objective in this commission is to conduct free, fair, and credible elections, and that is what we did in Osun State. In fact, I was in Osun for about 3 weeks, trying to make sure that everything goes well. We planned adequately. We deployed logistical materials, staff, and also we have a rec there that was assigned specifically for the election, and he did his best according to our plans.
So you said you've been in Osun State 3 weeks before the elections. What were the early warning signs you noticed about the elections?
No, in every election, we had to plan, we had to prepare from the experience of Ekiti. So we learned a lot of things. So we decided really we should make Osun the best election so far conducted. So that is why we were there to see that everything is put on ground before the election day. Even election day, we had to plan for it and to anticipate any problems that might likely arise.
Now let's look at the deployment of security. The heavy security presence, now we've had the repeated deployment of heavy security patrol in elections now from Ekiti to Osun State. Some school of thought have argued that that's an overkill. How do you see this in light of the elections you concluded recently?
Well, I don't think it's an overkill in the sense that we deployed, police deployed adequate security in Ekiti, and we had peaceful election there in Ekiti. So police, other security agencies too were deployed, and they were not there for intimidating anybody. Anybody who was there on Saturday during the election, he will see how professional the security personnel were. They conducted themselves freely, and everybody came out peacefully, and they conducted elections. So their presence there was not to intimidate, but to ensure that anybody who attempted to cause any problem will be handled very well. That was why security were there.
Now let's look at the allegations of harassment by top party officials. How would you comment on this?
Yes, to be frank, I myself heard about it, but I didn't see it. All the PUs I visited, and I visited a number of polling units, particularly in Osogbo, and the report also I received from other local government areas. There wasn't any explanation about this harassment by police, but we had it. But to tell you the truth, I haven't seen it at all. And none of our supervising commissioners in the various local governments inform us about this harassment. Maybe it happened before the election, but during the election day, people really exercised their franchise. They were protected by the security agencies. We visited them, we saw them on the field, and they are very, very professional.
Now, would you consider a probe into those allegations of electoral violence in Osun elections?
Well, if we have any information, certainly nothing will stop us from really investigating that. But so far, as I told you, we haven't have proof on that.
Are you surprised that the PDP is heading for the tribunal?
Well, I think going to tribunal by political parties is normal. I think anybody who feels that he should go, so that he can convince himself clearly, beyond any reasonable doubt, that the election was free, fair, and credible. So there is no problem by the party going to the tribunal. That is why, in the first place, tribunals are set up to entertain any grievances anybody may have.
But isn't that an indictment on the conduct of the elections?
Well, I think people who participated in the election, they were there, party agents were there, observers were there. They all acclaim the election to be free and fair. And also, if you look at the results, the gap between the winner and the person following up was about 102,000 votes. So it was really keenly contested election.
Now, let's do some analysis now. Assuming the tribunal goes the other way against the outcome of the elections you released, would you admit that there was some shortcomings in the conduct of the election?
Well, this is hypothetical. If that happens, of course, INEC has a legal team. We can do what is appropriate to defend our action. But I told you there is no harm people going to tribunal. That is why in the first place they are there.
Now, let's look into the allegations raised by the PDP. The PDP Osun State chapter has accused the resident electoral commissioner, the former resident electoral commissioner, of opening the electoral system for the opposition party. And by the time of the elections, the Senator Iyola Mishori argued that that was too late and the damage was already done. How do you see this argument from the PDP Osun State chapter?
You see, the issue of Dr. Keju, he was asked to go on leave, not because, as the chairman of the commission also explained repeatedly, not because he committed any offense, but just to make people feel, okay, now that this man is on leave, another person can come. Otherwise, there was no problem. There was no any indictment against Akeju.
There is every tendency that the losing party is always out to cry foul. Isn't this a task for INEC in terms of achieving transparency?
Well, I think it's becoming a culture, as you observe, going to tribunal or going to court whenever there is any election. But as I told you, there is no harm for any party, agreeing party, to go to tribunal or court. But my advice is we should try to encourage building confidence and building trust in whatever we do. It's a question of building confidence. And INEC has been doing all it can to build so that people will see that we can do election free and fair.
Now, looking at that conduct of Osun election, what would you score INEC in terms of transparency? Would you score INEC 100% in terms of transparency?
I think I will score INEC 100% in the sense that from the word go, you meet with political parties. You discuss with them all the steps you want to take in the conduct of election. On the election day, or before the election day, when materials are brought from the headquarters, say from Abuja to any state for the conduct of election, political party agents are invited to come to where we keep our material, Central Bank. Maybe in the future, we keep it in our office, to Central Bank. They come and see it. And then from Central Bank, we bring it to the state office, accompanied by the political party agents. And then everything kept there, and then distributed in their presence. So what transparency do you want more than this? Party agents are there. So I say the process is very transparent, 100%. So if you have political party agents, the credible ones, monitoring the election, how can you have fraud? So you can have more transparency than this anywhere, I tell you. Anywhere you conduct election, you can have more than this.
While the Osun State People's Democratic Party is saying the outcome of the results released by INEC is unacceptable, what are the issues at stake? The PDP is alleging massive rigging. In spite of the congratulatory messages from their party to Governor Aregbesola, one of the People's Democratic Party's chieftains, who is also voicing his discontent about the poll, is Dr. Muyiwa Oladimeji. Dr. Muyiwa Oladimeji is a member of the People's Democratic Party Elders Forum and a one-time special advisor to the Senate President. He blew the whistle on the consequence of intra-party squabbles within the PDP in an article published in June 7th this year in the dailies titled Osun PDP and Matters Rising. Take a listen to this. We have to make some punctuations now at your recent article on the Osun election, the build-up towards Osun election. You raised some issues on intra-party squabbles and also some costly party defections which the PDP allowed, and also the problems at the center thrown at the fragile shoulder of the Osun State PDP chapter. So how do you see this article now that the election has come and gone? Do you still see it as prophetic?
Well, you have definitely every event has its bearing on situations, but it will not be right to conclude that the finality of the Osun election is a the result is a reflection generally of what I wrote. I did suggest then, and rightly too, that we should reduce the intra-party squabble within my party, which is correct, because the less squabble you have, the less defections you have, the better your chances.
Now, you talked about issues of thumb printing now. Do you have facts on this?
In my own unit, everything went okay. But later on at the meeting of the party elders, people gave instances of this, of some of this massive rigging and careless overvoting in some places. I'm sure the party is doing it, will have to collate this and bring it forward to the public, to the attention of the public, and maybe possibly to a tribunal. which will look at it in its, with the facts and the merits of it.
Many observers are yet to come to terms of a particular trend now of a losing party unwilling to accept the reality that